Purpose. The purpose of the Warehouse Management Standard Operating Procedure is to outline the procedures for receiving, storing, and issuing rental asset inventories from Arena's warehouses. Scope. This standard operating procedure defines the procedures, including the responsibilities, internal controls, and authorizations for the management of warehouses owned and operated by Arena in the UAE and KSA. Applicability. The procedures defined in this document are aimed at the asset management and warehouse team, who are responsible for ensuring that Arena's warehouse in UAE and KSA is monitored, managed, and maintained to efficiently support Arena's business requirements. Glossary of terms. Inventories. All tangible items owned by Arena that are intended to be rented or distributed to clients or projects of concern. Inventories also include consumables, materials, and supplies consumed in the delivery of operations when these items are of material value. Examples of inventory are tents, scaffolds, and furniture sets. Arena Warehouse. A planned space managed by either a partner commercial entity or directly by Arena, where Arena-owned inventories are stored and recorded. Procedure. The warehouse management procedure includes the 6 key activities as illustrated in the figure given below. Each of these key activities is described in detail in the following pages. Establish warehouse infrastructure. Receive, inspect, and store inbound deliveries. Track and report inventory levels. Book stock and prepare delivery orders, pick, pack, and ship outbound deliveries. Manage daily warehouse operations. The warehouse manager is responsible for establishing a warehouse infrastructure plan that includes the following: a warehouse layout plan to ensure efficient utilization of warehouse space, guidelines for storage and management of inventory in the warehouse, supplies, equipment, and crew requirements for warehouse operations, a safety and security plan to ensure the safe operations of the warehouse, and a cleaning and maintenance plan for the warehouse premises. All warehouses should maintain a layout plan based on a grid layout, showing where the different items are stored, and update it regularly. A clear segregation between inventory items owned by Arena and goods owned by other organizations or clients must be maintained in case the warehouse is used for storing non-Arena inventory. The asset manager must receive and approve all requests for storage of non-Arena inventories. As a minimum, 6 areas should be designated in the warehouse: office area, goods receiving area, goods storage areas, cleaning area, damaged goods area, and staging or loading area for items picked and ready for release. Clear guidelines must be defined for safe storage and management of inventory, including procedures for stacking inventory, special storage requirements for high-value items and hazardous items, and labeling of inventory. A safety and security plan must be defined and implemented to ensure that the inventory is protected from the risks of fire, loss, breakage, damage, and theft. A security risk assessment and facilities assessment should be undertaken. The plan should include, at a minimum, an evacuation plan with escape exits and assembly points clearly identified and marked, and a perimeter protection plan such as fencing and other security measures like alarms and guards. Access control must be established to limit and control entry and exit to the warehouse and storage area, and an incident response plan must be developed. To maintain the premises, a cleaning and maintenance plan needs to be developed for the warehouse. The plan should include the tasks and timing of those tasks for the warehouse staff and cleaning personnel. Furthermore, the plan needs to detail how waste is to be handled and the dedicated areas for the different types of waste or surplus packing material. Receive, inspect, and store inbound deliveries. The warehouse team leader is responsible for the physical receipt of goods at the warehouse, confirming that the quantity and quality of the items received are according to the specification. The warehouse receives rental inventories that are returning from project sites, transferred from other warehouses, or newly purchased from suppliers. A list of relevant documents is provided in the table here. The warehouse team leader must ensure that the documents received are authorized copies. In the absence of relevant documents, the warehouse team leader must not unload the delivery to the warehouse. The warehouse team leader must thoroughly inspect the deliveries for any variations or deviations, damages, and missing items. Unloading and inspection must be carried out using a checklist. For items returning from project sites, a copy of the load list can be used as a checklist. For new inventories delivered from suppliers, A copy of the packing list or the delivery order can be used as a checklist. Additionally, the following items must be captured in the checklist: the date and time of unloading, actual items received including the quantity, and notes on quality including any damages. In case of any variations or deviations in the delivery compared to the original documentation list, the warehouse team leader must report to the warehouse manager, project manager, and procurement manager and obtain approval to unload. For damaged goods, a damaged goods report or DGR must be prepared. The damages are photographed, and the item is stored in a designated location for verification. The DGR, along with the photos, must be issued to the warehouse manager. Damaged goods listed in the DGR are repaired based on the guidelines for the repair of damaged goods in the fixed asset management procedure. The warehouse manager reviews and submits the DGR to the accounts manager and finance manager, who will provide recommendations on the allocation of the repair expenses. The warehouse manager then requests procurement to source repair services following Arena's procurement procedures. Immediately after receiving and inspecting all items, they should be placed in their respective storage areas within 1 to 2 weeks. The items must be cleaned and repaired for any minor damages prior to storage, and all items must be stored based on recommended storage guidelines. All documents should be signed by the person performing the activity, and warehouse copies, including the checklist and DGR, must be filed in proper order. Additionally, the warehouse team leader must update Arena's rental management system, All Hire, to ensure that the system reflects the correct status of inventory following the delivery. Track and report inventory levels. The warehouse manager is responsible for ensuring that all inventory-related transactions are recorded, maintained, and updated regularly in Arena's rental inventory management system, All Hire. The inventory controller supports the manager in updating the rental asset master data in All Hire. Any discrepancies between the system and physical inventory must be reconciled immediately upon discovery, and a file for reconciliation should be maintained by the warehouse team leader. If the discrepancy cannot be reconciled, a written explanation should be prepared as a basis for adjustment. The asset manager supports the warehouse manager in conducting stock audits and reconciliations as required by Arena's management. Book stock and prepare delivery orders. Outbound deliveries from Arena's warehouses include the distribution of rental inventories to project sites and the transfer to other warehouses. Account managers are responsible for booking stock in the system, for delivering kits to confirmed projects. The delivery process must be initiated only for jobs confirmed in Arena's rental inventory management system, All Hire. If inventory is out of stock and a decision is made to purchase the inventory, CAPEX procedures must be followed if it is a CAPEX allocation. Purchases must be compliant with Arena's procurement procedure. For the permanent transfer of inventories to another Arena warehouse, a transfer form must be completed by the warehouse manager and approved by the asset manager. The issue of inventories from Arena's warehouses requires valid documents depending on the type of dispatch. A list of relevant documents is provided in the table. The warehouse manager is responsible for planning outbound deliveries with the warehouse team leader and arranging the transportation required for the deliveries. To prepare outbound deliveries, the warehouse team leader must ensure that authorized copies of relevant documents are available. In the absence of relevant documents, the warehouse team leader must not prepare outbound delivery from the warehouse. Depending on the size and type of shipments, the warehouse needs to prepare a loading plan and schedule, considering the priority of items to be delivered to the site, physical limitations of the warehouse and the warehouse area, the number of loading gates, country limitations on weight and volume of trucks, and other relevant factors. The warehouse team leader requests the warehouse manager to arrange the transportation for the delivery. The warehouse team leader must ensure that only approved quantities of items, as listed in the load list or other relevant delivery document, are picked from the storage area and placed in the assigned staging area. Picked items are accounted and verified, and any issues with the item must be immediately reported to the operations manager. Once verified, the items are cleaned and packed for delivery. After loading is completed, the load list must be signed by the delivery in charge and the warehouse team leader. For the transfer of inventories directly from one project site to another, the warehouse manager coordinates with the project manager for loading and transfer. The warehouse manager handles daily tasks. manages petty cash, and allocates responsibilities among the team. They follow the warehouse log with team inputs to ensure smooth operations. The warehouse manager is responsible for the daily operations of the warehouse. A warehouse log, which includes the daily allocation of tasks to the crew, must be prepared and communicated. This will be done by the ops planner with inputs from the warehouse manager. For the allocation of any petty cash fund, the warehouse manager submits the petty cash fund request to the accounts payable accountant after obtaining approval from the structures manager. Petty cash is allocated following the guidelines in the petty cash procedure. The warehouse manager must assign a custodian for managing the department's petty cash requirements. The warehouse manager should ensure that petty cash-related expenses comply with the petty cash guidelines. Non-compliant expenses may be recovered from the custodian. Requests for petty cash replenishment can be submitted once the petty cash fund is at 20% or lower. The warehouse manager prepares the petty cash replenishment form, obtains approval from the structures manager, and submits it to the accounts payable accountant for replenishment. RACI matrix. A RACI matrix is a tool that clarifies roles and responsibilities in a project by designating who is responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed for each task. Please take some time to study this matrix for a clear understanding of team roles. Please review this RACI matrix carefully. Related documents and references. Here is a list of the documents referenced in this lesson.